The message from the audience representative chimed in Lin Reyes' neural interface: stay in the prep chamber. Do not attempt to join the procession. Lin snorted and continued fastening the team insignia to her competition uniform. Earth's emblem, a simplified blue and green sphere with a single white moon, looked pathetically simplistic next to the holographic, dimension-shifting crests worn by the other competitors. Listen, human, this isn't a suggestion, the voice continued, more insistent now. The Galactic Competition Committee is still deliberating your case. They've been deliberating for 3 weeks, Lin replied, sliding her feet into the regulation boots. The opening ceremony starts in 20 minutes. I'm walking. The Uarkani delegation has formally protested humanity's inclusion. The Tressalian Empire threatens withdrawal if you participate. The Mrinin Collective has. Muted, Lin said, and the voice cut off mid-sentence. She knew the arguments by heart anyway. Humans were too primitive. Too emotional. Too unpredictable. Too violent. Too fragile. Take your pick of reasons why humanity shouldn't be allowed to compete in the Galactic Games, held every 32 years, or what past 4 years, in standard galactic measurement, since the formation of the Interstellar Compact 12 millennia ago. The door to her chamber hissed open, revealing a tall, willowy figure with gleaming copper skin and eyes like swirling nebulae. Ambassador Thelene, Lin said, giving the customary 3-finger salute to the Etherian diplomat. Come to escort me back to Earth. I've come to walk with you to the procession, Thelene replied, her voice like wind through crystal. If you're still determined to compete. You know I am. Thelene's face rippled in what Lin had learned was the Etherian equivalent of a sigh. The committee has concerns about historical precedent. Yeah, I've heard that one too. Lin checked her reflection in the mirror, dark hair pulled back tight, eyes clear and focused despite the artificial gravity that made her feel like she was walking through honey. Something about methods banned for 12,000 years. Care to elaborate on that? I cannot. Thelene's nebula eyes darkened. But I can advise caution. The games are not merely competition, they are diplomacy, tradition, ritual. The last species that broke protocol is no longer among us. Meaning what, exactly? Meaning they were removed from the compact. Their worlds quarantined. Their civilization collapsed within 3 generations. Lin finally turned to face the ambassador fully. Is that a threat? It is history, Thelene responded. Come. If you're competing, we should join the procession. They walked in silence through the vast corridors of the game's habitat, a massive ring-shaped space station orbiting a neutral star at the intersection of 7 major galactic territories. Lin had spent the past 6 months here training, adapting, and being constantly reminded of humanity's inadequacy. The hallway opened to a vast antechamber where competitors from across the galaxy were gathering. Lin paused involuntarily at the threshold, taking in the dizzying variety of forms. Crystalline beings that floated on magnetic fields. Multi-bodied hive organisms moving in perfect synchronization. Energy patterns contained in articulated shells. Massive tentacled entities. Tiny swarming collectives. And now, one human. A ripple of reaction moved through the chamber as Lin entered. Some competitors simply shifted away, creating a bubble of empty space around her. Others made gestures that her neural interface translated as expressions of contempt, amusement, or outright hostility. They don't think much of us, do they? Lin murmured. You are the first non-spacefaring civilization ever invited to compete, Thelene replied quietly. And that only because of your unexpected alliance with the Etherians. Right. Lucky us. Lin still remembered the day the Etherians had arrived, their ships materializing in Earth's atmosphere like mirages made solid. The world had braced for invasion, for demands, for the worst, but instead, they'd offered alliance. They needed something Earth had in abundance, human creativity. In exchange, they offered technology, protection, and sponsorship in the compact. including, controversially, participation in the games. A chime sounded, and the vast doors at the far end of the chamber began to part. Beyond them, Lin could see the impossibly vast arena, with seating for millions of spectators from across the galaxy. The procession was forming, delegations arranging themselves by alphabetical order in the compact standard language. Nervous? Theline asked. Terrified, Lin admitted. But also kind of pissed off. 6 months of being treated like a barely evolved primate tends to have that effect. Channel that energy, Theline advised. You'll need it. A small, insectoid being with translucent wings approached, radiating information patterns that Lin's interface translated into formal speech, Earth competitor. Your position is here, between Dorsani and Ephemeral. Lin nodded her thanks and moved to the designated spot in the procession. The Dorsani delegation, tall, gray-skinned humanoids with 4 arms, shifted subtly away. The Ephemeral, beings of pure light contained in complex geometric frameworks, dimmed noticeably. Don't take it personally, said a gravelly voice beside her. Lin turned to see a stocky, reptilian competitor with iridescent scales and 3 yellow eyes. Wasn't planning to, Lin replied. Karev, the reptilian said, offering what appeared to be a name. Tarkasian Commonwealth. Lin Reyes. Earth. I know. Karev's mouth stretched in what might have been a smile, revealing rows of needle-like teeth. Everyone knows. The primitive with delusions of adequacy. Lin's jaw tightened. Thanks for the warm welcome. Not meant as insult, Karev said. Merely observation. Most competitors have evolved specifically for their events over thousands of generations. What's your specialty? What event do you compete in? Strategic adaptation, Lin replied. Karev's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. Interesting choice. Most physically demanding of the mental disciplines. Most mentally demanding of the physical disciplines. Is that why nobody's won it in 6 games? The Uarkani came close last time. Karev gestured to a massive, cylindrical being further ahead in the procession. They can reconfigure their cellular structure almost at will. Almost? They lack imagination. Karev's scales shifted color slightly. Problem with most evolved specialization. Efficiency at cost of adaptability. The procession began to move, each delegation floating, striding, or flowing into the arena to thunderous sounds Lin's brain interpreted as applause. As they moved forward, massive holographic displays showed close-ups of each competitor to the assembled spectators. Why help me? Lin asked Karev suddenly. Everyone else is treating me like a contamination risk. Tarkasians enjoy chaos, Karev replied with another tooth-filled almost smile. And you, human, are definitely chaos. They emerged into the arena, and Lin fought to maintain her composure as the full scale of the games became apparent. The arena itself was nearly the size of Manhattan, with different competition zones arranged in concentric rings. Above, observation platforms floated at varying heights. Beyond the physical structure, the walls seemed to open to space itself, though Lin suspected some kind of advanced containment field rather than actual exposure to vacuum. The Earth delegation consisted of exactly 1 person, making it by far the smallest in the procession. When Lin appeared on the massive displays, there was a noticeable decrease in the ambient sound, followed by what her interface translated as murmurs of disbelief, amusement, and outrage. They're not impressed, Lin muttered. They're not supposed to be, Karev replied. That's your advantage. Before Lin could ask what that meant, they reached the center of the arena where a raised platform held the Compact Council, representatives of the founding civilizations who governed the games. At their center stood a being Lin recognized from briefings, the Grand Arbiter, a vaguely humanoid figure with skin like liquid mercury and eyes that seemed to contain galaxies. Competitors, the Arbiter's voice resonated directly in Lin's mind rather than through her interface. We welcome you to the 431st Galactic Games. You represent the pinnacle of your civilization's achievement, the full expression of evolutionary and technological progress. The Arbiter's mercurial gaze seemed to pause on Lin. Some among you compete for the first time. Some represent traditions spanning millennia. All are bound by the Compact's laws and the sacred traditions of the games. Another pause, longer this time. Let me remind all competitors that the methods of direct neural interference, emotional manipulation, and instinctive response are expressly forbidden, as they have been since the Compact's founding. Any competitor found employing these methods will face immediate disqualification and their civilization will face sanction. Lin frowned. Her briefings had mentioned prohibited techniques but had been frustratingly vague about what they actually entailed. The qualifying rounds begin tomorrow, the Arbiter continued. May you bring honor to your civilizations and advance the collective knowledge of the Compact. As the ceremony concluded and competitors began dispersing to their designated quarters, Lin felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to find Theline looking troubled. That warning was for you, the Etherean said quietly. I figured that out, Lin replied. But I still don't understand what methods they're talking about. They fear what humans do naturally, Theline said. The way you think, the way you feel, the way you connect. It was banned after the Convergence War because no defense could be developed against it. Against what? Theline's nebula eyes swirled with concern. Against your humanity, Lin Reyes. They banned humanity before they ever met you. The strategic adaptation chamber resembled nothing so much as an elaborate playground designed by someone with a questionable understanding of physics. Floating platforms shifted unpredictably. Gravity wells appeared and disappeared without warning. Sections of the floor became suddenly gelatinous or electrified or frictionless. Lin surveyed the 12 other competitors in her bracket. The Uarkani representative, a massive cylindrical being named something unpronounceable that Lin's interface translated as flowing current against stone, was the clear favorite. Its body rippled and morphed continuously, testing different configurations in preparation. Competitors, approach your starting positions, announced the official, a being composed of interlocking geometric shapes that constantly rearranged themselves. Lin stepped onto her designated platform, trying to ignore the mixture of dismissive and contemptuous glances from the other competitors. Only Karev offered what might have been an encouraging nod. The objective is adaptation, the official explained. You will face 17 unpredictable environmental changes. Your body and mind must respond appropriately to each challenge. You may use any natural ability or technological enhancement approved during registration. Lin's enhancements consisted of her neural interface and a competition uniform made of smart fabric that could adjust its properties within a limited range. Compared to the others, she might as well have been competing naked with stone tools. Begin. The chamber transformed. Lin's platform shot upward while simultaneously beginning to spin. Around her, other competitors were facing different challenges, some platforms dropping, others tilting, others fragmenting entirely. Lin's years of gymnastics training kicked in. She dropped to a crouch, lowered her center of gravity, and calculated the spin rate. When her platform suddenly tilted 45 degrees, she was ready, shifting her weight to compensate. The first round of challenges were physical, testing balance, strength, and reflexes. Lin performed adequately, not spectacularly, but she avoided elimination. 3 competitors weren't so fortunate, their failure to adapt resulting in them plummeting into the soft elimination field below. Second phase, announced the official as the chamber reconfigured itself. Now came the sensory challenges. Blinding light. Disorienting sounds. Conflicting tactile inputs. One by one, competitors began to falter as their specialized sensory systems struggled to adapt to stimuli they had never evolved to process. Lin struggled too. Her human senses were limited, easily overwhelmed. But there was one crucial difference: humans were accustomed to sensory confusion. To contradiction. To processing anyway. When the chamber filled with a discordant frequency that made the ephemeral competitor literally shatter, Lin gritted her teeth and pushed through the pain. When gravity reversed for the 6th time in 30 seconds, sending 2 more competitors into the elimination field, Lin closed her eyes and trusted her inner ear, imperfect as it was. By the end of the second phase, only 5 competitors remained: Lin, Karev, the Uarkani, and representatives from the Mrinin Collective and the Tressalian Empire. Final phase, the official announced. Mental adaptation. The chamber went completely dark. Lin felt her platform stabilize beneath her feet, the first stability she'd experienced since the competition began. Then, without warning, her mind was flooded with information. Complex mathematical equations. Multidimensional spatial relationships. Quantum probability cascades. This, she knew, was where she should fail. Human brains weren't designed to process this level of abstract complexity. The Uarkani could literally grow new neural pathways to handle novel information. The Tressalian had a distributed consciousness spread across multiple interconnected bodies. The Mrinin Collective was essentially a living quantum computer. Lin was just human. With a human brain evolved for hunting on savannas and gossiping around campfires. So she did what humans do best. She cheated the system. Instead of trying to solve the problems directly, she looked for patterns. Shortcuts. Approximations. Where the others sought precision, she sought meaning. When faced with a 12-dimensional topology problem, she didn't try to visualize all 12 dimensions, she intuitively grasped what the solution would feel like. And she used the one thing the Compact had banned 12,000 years ago, the thing they feared so much they outlawed it before ever meeting humans: emotion. Lin got angry. She got frustrated. She got determined. She wanted to win, not just process information. She felt her way through problems her intellect couldn't solve. And somehow, impossibly, she was still in the competition when the Mrinin representative faltered, its collective consciousness temporarily fragmented by an information pattern it couldn't reconcile. Now just 4 remained. The final challenge manifested as a holographic construct, a system in crisis that required immediate intervention. For each competitor, the system was tailored to their civilization's technology and knowledge base. Lin found herself facing a simulated ecological collapse, a complex interplay of climate factors, biological systems, and human interventions. She recognized it immediately as a more complex version of the cascading environmental challenges Earth had faced for generations. While the others approached their challenges with meticulous, logical analysis, Lin did something different. She considered how the system would feel to the beings caught within it. She thought about fear, about hope, about the will to survive. She factored in not just what logical actors would do, but what panicked, hopeful, selfish, altruistic beings would do. In other words, she thought like a human. Time, announced the official as the holograms froze in place. Lin looked around. The Tressalian representative had failed, its solution reaching equilibrium too late to prevent system collapse. The Uarkani and Karev had both produced stable solutions, as had Lin. 3 finalists. Analysis of solutions will determine final placement, the official stated. Results will be announced tomorrow. As Lin stepped off her platform, legs shaking from exertion and mental strain, she found Karev waiting. Fascinating approach, the reptilian said. You didn't solve problems. You related to them. Is that bad? Lin asked. It's banned, Karev replied, those needle teeth showing again. Or it was. What you did, processing information through emotional filters, using intuition rather than calculation, that's what the Compact calls direct neural interference and instinctive response. Lin frowned. I just thought the way I normally think. Exactly, said a new voice. Lin turned to see Ambassador Theline approaching, her copper skin gleaming under the chamber lights. That's what they feared. That's why they banned those methods after the Convergence War. What happened in this war? Lin asked. Theline's expression grew solemn. The compact was young. A species called the Vrun developed a way to process information through emotional pathways, to make intuitive leaps. They nearly conquered half the galaxy because no logical defense could anticipate their strategies. After they were defeated, those methods were banned. And the Vrun? Lin asked. Quarantined. Eventually, they destroyed themselves. So I'm disqualified, Lin said, feeling a hollow disappointment. No, Theline replied. Because you didn't use technology to achieve these methods. They're natural to you. Humans evolved emotional processing, intuitive leaping. You can't be disqualified for your nature. Then why were they so against humans competing? Because they're afraid, Karev interjected. Afraid of what it means that your primitive species naturally employs methods so powerful they had to be banned for other civilizations. The next day, Lin stood on the central platform beside Karev and the Uarkani as the Grand Arbiter prepared to announce the results of the strategic adaptation competition. After thorough analysis, the Arbiter's voice resonated through the arena. The Compact Council has determined the Uarkani solution achieved 99.76% efficiency with minimal resource expenditure. A ripple of appreciation moved through the spectators. The Uarkani's cylindrical body pulsed with what might have been pride. The Tarkasian solution achieved 99.12% efficiency with notable conservation of critical systems and redundancy pathways. Karev's scales shifted to a deeper blue, which Lin had learned indicated satisfaction. The Earth solution. The Arbiter paused, those galaxy eyes fixing on Lin. The Earth solution achieved 96.33% efficiency. Lin's heart sank. Third place. Respectable for humanity's first games, but still last among the finalists. However, the Arbiter continued, the Earth solution demonstrated unique characteristics that require special consideration. Unlike the other solutions, which reached stable equilibrium and then maintained it, the Earth solution continued to evolve. Projecting forward 1,000 cycles, the Earth solution achieves 99.98% efficiency and demonstrates self-improving characteristics absent from the other approaches. A murmur ran through the arena.